So really I work for the top secret special investigations unit, but my undercover day job is an insurance agent for Esurance. I'm a licensed agent.
This
The SIU
chick
is a secret
is
benevolent
hot.
agency committed to improving the world by thwarting bad and righting wrongs
Your
wherever they
daddy's
exist.
bad girl, aren't
Especially
you?
in the inconvenient world of auto insurance. Mr. Ghost. Mr. Ghost! Are you even listening to me?
Uh-huh.
Over the course of about a few years now, more and more people keep using the phrase terminally or chronically online to express someone who could probably use some sunlight, fresh air, invest in a fishing rod and go to town. I don't fucking know. But whenever I see someone using the phrase terminally or chronically online, it's always expressed as a bad thing. And as someone who pretty much grew up on the internet as an iPad kid, having all this unlimited knowledge thrown into my brain repeatedly at rapid fire throughout my developmental years, I would say the result for me, at least anyway, wasn't entirely a bad one. Okay, except for maybe fucking edgy kids, but I didn't fall into the alt-right pipeline. As a matter of fact, I'd say being on the internet for as long as I have taught me who and who not to trust, expanded my vocabulary exponentially, and above everything else has given me a deeper appreciation of independent art. Even on a small scale, hell, the creation of this channel and my online creative endeavors largely started with requesting independent artists to create artwork for me. And while I don't do that now and I'm an adult and can pay for my commissions, sometimes I don't even recognize how much I come across appreciating independent creators now because I do it so casually. It could be anything from subscribing to a certain creator on YouTube. Please. Liking some art on Twitter. The internet has given me the opportunity to come across creators I otherwise wouldn't have with other forms of entertainment that I had as a child, with the most prolific being TV. Now, it's pretty much safe to say cable television as a whole is steadily becoming a dying form of entertainment, with networks constantly rushing to create the next big streaming platform where they can dump all of their content just to either sell the streaming rights to another company or remove shows from their service altogether. Sometimes they try to stay trendy with online culture by including online celebrities in their programming or posting what they think is hip to social media while immediately missing the point of the fucking joke. But what happens when you get a network that fully embraces the online landscape? Well, that's where you get... And ever since its inception, they've pretty much been making online videos on primetime TV before online videos were popular. This almost independent, low-budget feel in their early shows would eventually pave the way for their more high-quality programming. But I think overall why so many people, including myself, love Adult Swim is because they haven't forgotten their core value and artistic creative integrity, which made them so endearing in the first place. I'm sure many of you know the story from the endless amount of video essays, but in case you don't, allow me to summarize. Adult Swim started with humble beginnings at 1065 William Street Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia, founded by one Playboy Cardi fan, Mike Lazo.
Playboy Cardi hasn't put anything out, you know?
In 1992, he was head of programming for a newly started Cartoon Network that mostly ran reruns of old Hanna-Barbera and MGM cartoons. Becoming frustrated with the fact that they were only a rerun channel with no sort of original programming, Lazo did what any starved creative would do in order to get their vision off the ground and asked his boss at the time, Ted Turner, to give him funding for something fresh, with Turner in response saying, "Use what you've got, and then maybe later we could talk about this." And use they did, creating the first long-running series for the network, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, with nothing but recycled Hanna-Barbera cells and real-life footage. And talk later they also did, as Adult Swim was first launched on September 2nd, 2001 as a programming block to Cartoon Network. Like most, if not virtually all of online videos, Adult Swim started out with no budget. The fact that they just had to put together and make do with what they already had, transforming this piece of pre-existing IP into something entirely new, pretty much makes up half of the content you see online, including this very video you're watching. So it's only natural that intertwining themselves in online culture would become almost seamless. So seamless that about as early as 2 years from when the network launched, they introduced the Adult Swim message boards, where users could submit art, show off their appreciation for Adult Swim, as well as submit their posts to be featured in bumps on a TV series they called Dear Adult Swim, where fans would do the previous things mentioned, along with sometimes saying nonsensical shit or just spitting banter with the network. These IDs are where their fan interactions online began, allowing for them to have a more down-to-earth feel with its dedicated viewer base and even casual watchers alike. This style of now iconic bumps with the black background on white text would not only be a staple in their branding, but showed as a sign that this was a little bit more than just a network ran by corporate suits that only wanted your money, and actual humans were behind it. Humans that were welcoming the feedback and actually listen to it. Humans that give their showrunners more creative freedom and vision than any other network on television. And humans that largely believe in artistic creative integrity.
I believe people that make a living doing just art, not people who work for a corporation like you and I do, but like actual people who are out there making their living off of like songs or paintings or whatever. I believe that's a very brave and hard thing to do these days. And I have always felt like, to the degree I could, I wanted to use the support I have at a corporate level to help people both get money and exposure for doing that.
The message boards weren't the only website the network would toy around with, as in 2007, the short-lived YouTube competitor SuperDeluxe.com was founded.
SuperDeluxe.com, put it inside you. I just made a tagline for them that they probably don't want.
Originally, as it didn't start off as an AdultSwim property, it would eventually merge with their official website in 2008. This was a safe haven for a bunch of adult-oriented original web shows created by well-known stand-up comedians funded by Turner.
Well, now you know so much about me. What about you?
See me? Well, I'm a different story.
Suck a dick, dumb shit.
This was also where a lot of Adult Swim shows would get their start, such as Tim and Eric, China, Illinois, and Inflation Station. God damn, these niggas really were terminally online. What the f? This would eventually sway the network into taking a chance with more web-based content, as they would go on to greenlight Children's Hospital, which served as a web series online before it was aired on TV. Adult Swim is always looking everywhere for new voices and stories to be told. So much so that they had their own executives live stream themselves, taking pitches from random people online.
Yeah, sure.
We're having trouble watching it.
Present slideshow?
It says we got to request access.
Might have to click F5 or something.
Rewarding the top 3 with $500 split amongst all 3, which in of itself is something no other executive from any network would probably ever agree to in a million years, because a majority of network executives are some of the most vile, greedy, downright slimy assholes you will ever meet in a professional setting. And placing them on a live stream in front of thousands of people with direct contact would make them vulnerable to pretty much anything thrown their way.
Hey caller, are you in? Are you ready for bag acquiring?
You want an Oreo?
Do I want one?
Yeah.
We're getting a tutorial on why it's important to have call screening.
But the executives at Adult Swim just aren't that. As a matter of fact, my first time viewing the series when it started, I wasn't even aware that these guys were executives because of how funny and laid back they were. Development meetings were more than just a way to get your cool idea out, not only to the Hollywood bigwigs, but to thousands of other people tuning along just to watch these entertaining dudes look at your ideas. It was fun and interactive. Their personalities just bounced off of each other from one another. The show had inside jokes and a soundboard operated by the executives. That doesn't even begin to mention the absolute heat that they would license at the beginning and ending of their live streams, often by underground hip-hop artists, not only putting me and many others onto something new, but also giving the artists a platform for new listeners and money. And of course, they had to take their job seriously and actually give constructive feedback to those pitching, but they weren't total dicks about it, unless you bring them a show littered with nothing but weed jokes. That just gets kind of annoying. Looking back at their earlier pre-quarantine streams, you could see people who have an actual understanding of internet culture and ironic humor. I mean, look at these fucking GIFs, dude. And their understanding of it isn't just one of, oh, I have to do this because it's my job, but one of actual earnestness and love for the subcultures.
I'm really into the YouTube. If anyone has any of the dope YouTube people who review animation, I'm checking that out. There's one dude who comes up with his own Boondock Stories. I think the Storyteller, I've been checking that out. I've been deep on YouTube animation, and there's some really smart people in there. So if anyone knows any dope YouTube animation reviewer people, drop links. Shout out to
yeah.
Jesus, the fact that an Adult Swim executive could be watching my ass right now is a little bit unbelievable. Like, Pan Pizza is right there, you guys. I feel as though in order to really truly be ahead of the curve in a space like entertainment on the level of a cable TV network, you have to look at media in a different way and become accepting of all forms of artwork from literally everywhere, not just one. It's nice to see throughout the years that the network has really shown consistency in this practice, not only applying it to their programming, but who they get to make it. Okay, except for that one time they fucked up. They fucked up like one time. Okay, 2 times. They fucked up 2 times. This is shown very evident in their other series, this time of shorts, and both Off the Air and its spiritual successor, Adult Swim Smalls, both started by executive producer at the network, Dave Hughes. Hughes' background started in multiple odd jobs in the early 2000s animation sphere, such as doing branding for a newly Nicktoons network and editing Beavis and Butthead, which would eventually end him up working for William Street as an editor on a little show I mentioned earlier called It was Space Ghost. Early on in his career, Hughes always toyed with the idea in his head for an anthology show with works like MTV's Liquid Television and 120 Minutes, loosely inspiring what would end up basically becoming Adult Swim's 4 a.m. art gallery with Off the Air. At a time where people you think weren't watching, but oh boy, people were watching alright. Episodes would consist of compiled internet footage, both edited, curated, and commissioned by Hughes, featuring pretty much any medium you could think of, with the clips by an array of indie artists tying into a set theme of each episode, often accompanied by music that would fit the tone of said footage provided, and can consist of anything from an abstract live-action CGI hybrid piece to a 2D animated segment or an HBCU drumline. This program would go on to get many creatives foot through the door in the entertainment industry, with some who would later to go on to work further for the network, such as Jack Stauber, Joe Kappa, and Vune, just to name a few.
Shout out black women.
Or just introduce their works to people who haven't seen them before, and I think the audience targeted for this couldn't have been better. I think what's so great about Off the Air is that this show is more than just compiled footage. Every segment shown is there for a reason, be it to invoke a strong emotion in the viewer, or to show off the strong emotion it took to make said footage in the first place. Trying to keep the show flowing along so much that it becomes one larger event rather than a series of smaller events is a big part of what we try to do. His other anthology series, Adult Swim Smalls, features a more self-contained and mostly fully animated works. And while yes, there are many shorts programs out there from networks, even though some of them don't even greenlight any of the fucking shows and just sit on them, having them rotting in a server for years.
You are the worst at taking care of me. I need Dre. Where's my dear? Yes, child.
Adult Swim Smalls instead was created specifically to feature underground animated works to a broader audience, with many of the previous animators mentioned before creating shorts for the program as well as new ones, along with some of the episodes being streamed on Max while the creators kept the rights to their idea. And this is a huge thing to take note of in an age where companies can just buy an idea in order for that idea to be made and just keep that property and sit on it for eons with no intention of ever using it in the future. It's nice to see that Adult Swim can compromise with these smaller artists on a mainstream level so that they can get content, the artists get money and exposure, and they still get to keep their idea. The general consensus when it comes to people who don't watch Adult Swim is that it's weird or disturbing or you have to be faded as fuck to watch this. And well, yeah, most of their programming is definitely interesting at best. Let me ask you something. Is an anthropomorphic sponge living in the bottom of the sea, working a 9 to 5 not weird to you? Okay, how about a rubber man who travels the sea in search of a treasure with his anthropomorphic reindeer doctor, an archaeologist who can create limbs out of thin air, a skeleton, and a ginger? Sounds weird, right? Oh! It works, and both of those ideas are established large franchises because someone came up with a weird idea. Just because something is abstract or surreal doesn't mean it should only be meant for stoners. I know I quoted Dave Hughes before, but this specific quote is exactly how I feel about this sentiment. It just makes me sad that an appreciation for anything absurd or out of the norm can't be taken at face value. Like you must be on drugs to either make this stuff or to enjoy watching it. How fucking lame and narrow-minded is that? To this day, the network still goes on to produce shows, live streams, shorts, IDs, etc. made by the online audience, supervised by the online audience, and viewed by them. And guys, that's why
Why do you think people even pretend to like clowns for as long as they do?
Well, I think some people genuinely do like clowns.